go. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hi Philippa. Good evening, ladies and gents. Hello Brian, because you're bound to be there. So, yes, nighttime one today. Nana juices all day for me today. So I can see this is pulsing already. How very annoying. I wonder why nobody else's does that. It really does annoy me, to be fair. I hope it doesn't spoil watching. It's just trying to focus, I guess. So maybe if I leave my hand there for a while some people join us. As I know Jenny and a few of the girls wanted to join. Seems to be pulsing quite a bit today. Wow. Anyway, tonight we're going to make a springy pop-up envelope. Now, I don't have one to show you because I sent it to Julie. But I have got it all prepped, as you can see. Some of it's in the tray here. And if we're pretty quick running through this, I might well do the second one. I showed it the other day. It was a DL card and it had some foam flowers on. And a few of the ladies said, oh, could you please show that on next? So as I'd already planned to show this one, I thought, right, why not? I'll do the two if I can. It shouldn't take very long, really, because they're both prepped. And it's just kind of getting, you know, showing you how to put the things together, really. That's all, isn't it? So, hiya, Jill. Hiya. Thanks for joining me. I'll just give it a little minute or two for some of the ladies to come on. I know 7 o'clock is a bit of an awkward time, isn't it? Because people obviously have their tea late and getting in from work and stuff like that. But like everyone says, you can watch it again on catch up, no problem. So it doesn't really matter. Right, there's a few more on, so that'll do. As long as we've got a couple watching, that's all that matters. Right, so I have got some stuff prepped. Gonna use the lovely stamps by Emma, which are Emma's Christmas Florals. Okay. And I'm using the flowers, large and small, not the tiny ones, don't need them. And I'm also using some of the foliage, which you can see here. I've stamped them and cut them out already. I do like a bit of fussy cutting, as you know. Hi Yvonne, thank you for joining us. I've got some glossies and I've also pre-foiled some of the foilables. Not that I've got many left because I've made quite a lot. I've done them in the red fab foil. So they're pre-done. Yeah, so that's it really. I can get started. As I said, I'm going to try and do 2 cards tonight, because I don't think this will take very long. So let's bring in my scoreboard and let's show you what we need to do. Okay, we're going to start off with a piece of card that is 5 by 7, and as you can see, Tracy hasn't trimmed it to 7, so that's a bit silly, isn't it? I cut it and never trimmed the bottom. So 5 by 7 is what you need, but once you get the gist of how you're going to do this, right, I know that you can change it to any size you want. So you could do a 6 by 6 or whatever size you like. I'm just going to pull in, I think this is a 5 by 7 envelope. Yeah, I'm going to pull this in so I can show you how far not to go. Okay, so 5 by 7 piece of card. You don't do anything to that just yet. It just is what it is. Okay, so one of them. We need 2 pieces of card that measure 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And we're going to trim this down, and this will become the 2 parts at the front that flap over to form the envelope. Then we need 1 piece which is 5 inches by 2 inches, okay? And we need 2 pieces that'll cut, because this is a card that will flatten, squash flat to go in a 5 by 7 envelope. So we need 2 pieces to create kind of like the squashy side parts. And they are 2 inches by 2 inches. As I said, you need 2 of them. And then these things are they're struts, and they're going to sit on the back. They're going to fold up like this, and they're going to sit on the back of your flowers and form a spring, so that, as you can see, you can squash it flat to go in the envelope. So how many of these you have is completely up to you, because that depends on how many flowers you're going to put in. And we need, I would say, about 5. Just do 5 to start with, and then you can easily crack on and make a couple more. Now these are 4 inches by a 1/2 inch. Okay, so as you can see, I had a few ready. So the only scoring we need to do is bring in the 2 pieces of 2 by 2, and we're going to score them from top to bottom at every 1/2 inch. So it's 1/2 inch, 1 inch and 1.5 inches, and you do the same with that one. 1/2 inch, 1 inch and 1.5 inches. Okay, so that's them scored. Now these thin struts, we also do the same. We score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch and 1.5 inches, and then we make a jump to 2.5 inches, 3 inches and 3.5 inches, and we do that with all the struts. And how you do the folding is this longer piece you've got in the middle, if you fold the pieces next to it back and forward and back, you'll see how to do it. Then your mountain and valley, and that is kind of what you get. Okay, you've got a long piece in front that you're going to stick on the back of your flower, and these 2 bits are going to stick onto the envelope and help your little flower to squash down. Okay, so that's it really with the scoring. So I'm just going to bring me mat in, and I'm going to fold these struts again, mountain, valley, mountain, valley. I'm going to rub them out because I don't want to see the 2 by 2 written on it, because you might be able to see that in the middle. So it's mountain, valley, and these are going to sit on the side of your envelope to press your card down flat. So we've got 2 of those. Let's do the same with them. Give them a little push, and let's fold this final strut in and out. Easy. That's it. Right, so we'll start with the 5 by 7. I'll just rub that out. So what I want you to do is grab a pencil and a ruler, and at the 5 inch along the top, I want you to put your ruler on and measure it halfway. Hi Angie. Oh, it's lovely to have you here. Well done. Thanks for joining us. I think I missed somebody coming in there as well. Lynn. Hi Lynn. So I'm measuring this. This measures 5 inches by 7, and I'm finding the halfway point, which is 2.5 there. Hiya Gail. And then if you go down the side at 2.5 inches and mark it, and the same on the other side at 2.5 inches and put a mark. And then what you're going to do, if you're good with scissors, use your scissors. If you're not, use a ruler and a knife, or your guillotine, obviously, whatever you want to do. You line that middle top one up with the one on the side, and you just trim it off. And this will give you the pointy bit of your envelope, okay? And then you do the same with the other side. Side mark up to the middle mark. There we are. And trim it off. Okay, we do not need those now. So that is the back part of your envelope done. So while we're trimming, we'll trim these parts up. Now these are 2.5 by 3.5. And these are the things that are going to sit across the front and form then the front folds of your envelope. Hiya Jan, thank you for joining us. So get your ruler, okay, and along the 3.5 mark at the top, 3.5 line at the top, mark halfway. Obviously it's 1 3/4 inches, okay, and then from the points at the bottom we're going to cut up to there, and that will give you your triangles. We're going to do that on both of them. Get all the cuts out the way. Get rid of them. and trim that one off. Got a nice sharp craft knife. So same with this, put it on, measure the top at 1 3/4 here, and then you're just going to put the thing there, ruler, and cut it off. Hiya Jenny, you're right lovely, you're not late, you haven't really done very much yet, you can always catch it up. There we are. Okay, so these are all the pieces that you need now. You've got your back piece that you've took the 2 corners off. This front piece is going to sit across there. It's fairly easy from now on really to put together. So this is why I said you could easily now, once you've seen the basic way of doing it, you can easily adapt this to any size you want. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is glue these side bits on. There we are. Make sure you line them up there and at the bottom nicely. Okay, make sure the sides are nice and lined up. It's quite warm today, so it might take a little while for this glue to decide to do its thing. Just keep it down. And the same with this one. A little bit of glue. And pop it on. Once you've got it where you want it, make sure it's all lined up nicely. Press it down. Give it a minute to take. And then you can put some glue on the top, and this 5x2 piece is going to sit on there, okay? So, bit of glue on there. I mean, the basic premise of this envelope is pretty easy envelope card. It's the decorating part that's the most fun, really, isn't it? Here we go. So, pop them down and press this on. Pop them down and press this on. Now you have to just give it a little minute to take. It doesn't take long, and as you can see, it's quite squeezy, folds down. Now, this then will sit on there, and this one will sit on there. Yeah, so now you can see you've got your envelope sort of ready to decorate. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue on there and a little bit along the top to make sure it sticks. But the second one I want to do some stamping on before I glue it on. So there we are. So it's going to sit like that, like I said. Alright. And I've got a nice Merry Christmas to sit over the join part there. But I would like to stamp the postmark from the Christmas Post and More. Christmas Post and More stamps. Postage and More. I want to put this on here. And so I don't know whether to use the small Merry Christmas or the large. I quite like the large one. So I think I shall pop it on the top corner there. So we've got it worked out. I mean, we've got, I think there's some word in here that says Christmas Post and everything on there, yeah. So that would be quite nice to stamp on there too. So I'm just gonna bring in my stamp platform. Move these out the way. Pop this in, making sure it's the right way up. Yep, that's the right way. I'll clip it there, and I think it was going to go around about there. Or was it going down now? Pop it there at the top. But I want it to come out nice and clear, so I'm going to use my stamp platform, and I'm not going to wing it, but I'm going to use Ranger Archival in Vermilion, because I've used that a lot on this stamp and it's already stained because of that. So lovely. There we go. So that's done. Pop that out the way. Right, there we are. Now I know it's stamped, I can glue it on. So, a bit of glue on there and across. And we can pop this on to there. So, any questions so far? Fairly easy so far, I feel. There we go. And from the side, like I said, it squashes. You can see it goes down. You can always, I guess, put one of those easel stands at the back, but it does stand up quite well. You don't really need it, but you can, if you wish, put one on. Okay, so let's bring in the stuff that we've got to decorate it with. So, as I said, I've stamped and I've coloured these already, but I'm just going to show you how easily it is done to colour these in. And I'm going to use, I think it's, yeah, lumberjack plaid. I've got a little bit of acetate here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the lumberjack plaid on there. I've got some water, and I have my red really stains. So I've got my red water pen, bit of red on there still already from before. So I'm going to make a kind of a wash first, really, a watery wash, but I don't want it to be too wet because this isn't watercolour card. This is just super smooth card. Okay, so I'm going to put, I need a bit more colour than that, a little bit of a watery wash onto the petal like this, and then while it's still wet, you can do 2 at a time. It doesn't take too long to colour these in. While it's still wet, pick up some of the stuff you haven't watered down, and you can start to add it into the centre. If you've got too much colour on, you can pull it off, and then you can start to build up the colour variation that you want on each petal. I kind of like the way that looks. I like the loose watercolour look. If you find you've got too much, you can always put a bit of water on and smooth it out. But I do like that, the way you can colour like that. Some people start with the dark and pull it out. That's a way you can do it as well. Just pull the colour out around there. And then you can still go in and add a little bit in the centre, if that's the way you want to do it. And the other way some people do is start off with just a clean wet brush, wet the whole thing all over, pick up the deep dark stuff, drop it on, and just leave it to run the way it wants to run. There's so many different ways of doing it. You'll find your own way and get the results that you like yourself. It's easy. And then you just leave that to dry. It's very easy to colour in. And then all I've done, and I've done some dark and some light ones so that they're a little different. You can tell, you can see there. But I won't use that one because it's wet. But I have those ready and dried to be able to pop together. Right, make sure my hands are clean. Yeah. Okay, so now it's just time to snip in and give them a little bit of dimension. I've put a red glossy in the middle of these already to save me messing about with a bit of a pokey tool, picking them up because my nails are not the best. So let me see if we've got any questions. No? No questions? Good. You like no questions because that usually means that everybody's following along and they get the gist of what I'm trying to say. But if you have got any questions, honestly, don't feel, even if you think they're daft, just ask. Because if you're thinking it, somebody else will. And they'll want to know too, but they don't want to ask. The only way you learn is asking questions. I've asked some right daft ones in my time, I tell you. But there you go. And then you can just shape these then. If you give them a little bit of shape, then you can see the area on the back that you've got to where to put the little struts to hold them up. Okay, I've got leaves as well. I've used medley of leaves, as you can see here. I used my favourite leaf out of it. Look, I don't think I've actually made a card. Since I got this leaf set, I don't think I've actually made a card with out this leaf on it, because it's just so handy to be able to cut into it. So we've got all the bits. Let's see. So I want this central one to sit there, and I want the Merry Christmas, I think, to sit there. So I'll pop that on, and then I'll know that I can't overhang anything too far forward. And that little bit there can be covered up. Nobody will see that. There we are. So we've got that. Now it's just a case of where you're going to place your flowers. And I think 5, if I looked at the original one, I did 4, and oh, it did irritate me that I didn't put the 5th one on. Okay, now be aware, and it's a good thing to do, is to put your envelope underneath, right? Because now you can see how far you can go and it will still fit in the envelope, you know. So I mean, this would work for a birthday card, for any kind of card, but you can see that you cannot go outside. See, that would be no good because that will sit outside, so we'll have to pull that further in like that. Okay, so now it's time to, I think I quite like that. So now we can decide where we're putting some of these infill ones, because I want the red ones that we've coloured to be the main focus, if you get me. Right, I definitely want to put that one up there. So, and these can go in and on just to fill up the little areas in and around. I've got leaves to put on as well, so once you've found where you're going to put them all, then you can start to glue them on. Okay, these I'm going to glue flat. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the centre to start with, because I might want to poke some flowers in, some leaves in rather, not flowers, like these. See, these can sit in and around as well, but let's just glue these ones in first, and then we can see where we're going to put the rest of the leaves. I might not need all of these, in which case, no problem. All of these leaves that I've done, they'll be put away and used on a different one. Okay, let's pop that one in the centre down there. There we go. This one can go here. And I haven't pressed them down too much yet because, like I said, I'm going to use some of these pretties. I've coloured these in using Inktense pencil and a fine liner just to colour the red bits in. So let's see. We can go there because that's okay. I might put it that way round actually. This is where it takes more of the time faffing about with the design. And as this is a slightly different design than before, I haven't used the exact same items. Yeah, like that there. We can put that there to cover that. Yeah, I like that. So what I'm going to do is glue down the leaves, because the things that I want to be really springy are the big flowers. I want them to kind of, you can put these on with foam pads as well if you want. That'll give you some more dimension to it. I have got some foam pads lying here, some little dimensionals from God knows how long ago from Stampin' Up. That one's going to glue on, but I think I want to put some leaves behind this, so just going to snip in, my usual trick. Snip into there, yeah, that'll do grand. Snip in, put a bit of leafage on, and know that you cannot go too far over with the leaf, otherwise it won't go in the envelope. Right, so let's put some of these in here. That'll stick in there nicely. I'm putting a flower up there, yeah. I just want the back to be full. I don't want it to be, you know, able to look through and find it's all empty at the back, because that's not good. So I'm just going to trim around them. I have some single ones as well ready for, in case there's a little gap that needs filling. There we are. Okay. Right, let's get these springs on the back. So there's two ways you can do it. You can do the separate springs on your petals if you want, or you can put the whole big one on. I tend to put the big one on. So I definitely want one on here, because this is going to be one of the central ones, and I think those 3 will also have one of these struts on as well. So let's bring some more struts in and pop them in. It's a nice, I like these little springs. It's a good way of making things kind of bouncy without having to use acetate. You know, obviously if you're doing a darker card, then use the dark card for the springs on the back. But no, I think it's a good little plan. I might be using these a lot more from now on. There we go, we've got the struts on the back. So I didn't need all of those leaves, but that doesn't matter. Or that one. Right, let's see where we're at with all the leaves. Okay, so I definitely want my big one here to fill up there. And then I've got another 2. Did I have another one? Or may I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll do. Put one down there and one there. I think that's quite a pretty layout. Yep, we'll do that. Bit of glue on the back of that one. And then squeeze them in and pop it down where you want it to be. I think there. There we go. This one can go here, right there, so it kind of hangs over the side. Give it a little press. There we are. And then this one on here, right there. Press that one down. There we go. And that one's already on. Now, leaves. Ooh, missed one. Now, just because you've got all these on doesn't mean you can't put leaves on as well, because I'm going to do just that. So a couple of leaves, and now we can glue these leaves on the back of these flowers where we want them to sit, and hope that the glue, actually I've got my hot glue gun on, so I'll use that. I put my glue gun on, so just so this would do quickly. Okay, take that off, don't need that. I think I'll have one there. Like I said, you can do whatever you want with it. I do think that it would make a nice birthday card, or anniversary card actually. There. Let's see, let's put a double one on here too. Yeah, they're cute, aren't they? The struts, I like them. Right, pop that there. Alright, and now pick it up, have a look at it and see where you've got a bit of a gap. I can see there's a gap there, which I'm not fond of. So let's see if we can slide in one of those. I just want a bit of colour behind it, really. I don't want to see just white. There we are. There we go. And I'm going to have 2 more leaves there, and that'll fill that gap at the top. There we are. There we go. So that one decided not to stay on, didn't it? There we are. So there you go. When it's all dried, have a look at it. No, I've got no gaps. I think that looks quite cool. Yep, I like that. And now, like I said, once it's all dry, it'll squash flat and it'll go in that envelope, no problem at all. Okay, so there you go. And it stands up too. Now, I've just seen one more gap that I'm not a fan of. Needs sorting. Shall I use one of those? No, I'll keep it with this. Bit of hot glue on this one, make sure it stays in. I've seen a gap there. There you go. Happy days. That's it, that'll do. The very thing, of course, on there. And you can see the dimension on them struts if you hold it to the side. So that's card number 1, okay? Quite simple. I hope you have a go at that one. I'd like to see some different sizes as well. Some 6x6s now, that'll be quite nice. So I'll put that to one side and I'll bring in the tray that I've got ready for the next one. Okay, so I don't need that, I don't think. Right, for this one, it's a DL card. And it's the one that I put on the other day with happy birthday on it and the foam flowers, okay? So I'm going to show you how to make them. They're very simple. And I'm just going to grab everything out that we've got because this is really just a case of putting this together. I'm doing a little tiny bit of scoring, really. So for this one, I'm using pink. I did it in lilac last time, so I'm going to do a pink one. And I've changed it from a 21st card, which is what it was originally, to an 18th card. Okay, so this is what I've used. I have used the Happy Birthday from Hazel's Dyes. I think it was just the very first set that came out had Happy Birthday on it. Then I've got the 18 from the last Numbers Dyes of Hazel's. And I've got the back plates for them as well. So an 18. And I've also cut out the TH, so it's 18th, if you get me. I've used the Dinky Circle, used the big one and then the smaller one, and trimmed out the inner part because it just gives a little bit of more of something. Okay, 2 cards, yeah. And I've got some stamens, but if you haven't got any stamens, don't worry, because you can just use the Perfect Blooms, I think they're called. Perfect Blooms. The ones that have got just the outlines of Julie's things in, because they've got stamens in the middle. And from the Medley of Flowers, I think, Medley of Blooms, one of those. I can never remember the names of them, I'm absolutely useless. But you know what I mean, any of Julie's little flowers would be great for this. You don't need too much for this card, really. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to colour everything that we need to do, okay? And then I'll show you how to put everything together. So as we're going with pink, I've cut out using Julie's Dyes, and I'll put a list on when I put these photographs up of what I actually used, so that you know if you want to crack on and do it yourself, you can use it the same as me, or go completely in the opposite direction. I'm just going to rest this on here. Now this is Distress ink and this is foam. You know, the foam that you make the flowers out of. And the way I do it, you can use pastels, pan pastels to colour it. You can use whatever you like. I just like to put, scruffily, a bit of ink in the centre of these. This isn't a bad colour, this flamingo one. It's quite juicy because it's not an old one. So it's just a case of putting, it doesn't have to be tidy. It doesn't have to be all exactly the same. As long as you've got a bit of colour in the middle of these, it just gives a little hint of colour. I mean, you could colour the whole thing if you want to, but or buy yourself some coloured foam, but I never do that. I only ever buy white or cream foam and green, because green's very, very difficult to colour the whole thing uniformly. You know, you get like patches, so it's best to buy yourself some green. And it's quite reasonably priced everywhere now, but I try, if I'm making the big flowers to gift, not flowers to go on a card, like the proper roses, the proper blooms, the big ones, then, which I haven't done for a long time, but then I use the silk foam because it's just a little bit better quality than the stuff for this, you know, this kind of stuff. But I do like making flowers. You've probably seen the paper ones that I've made before now. Right, so I do have a water brush for green. So all I've done, as you can see, is put a little bit of green Inktense pencil on, and I'm just gonna pull it up. Now, I don't think that this was stamped with this. What I did was I cheated with this a bit really, because as you know, I do a class on a Tuesday, and sometimes if there's a lot of stamping involved, I do it ahead of time and take it with me for them. But I had so much stamping to do one week. I did one lot of stamping and photocopied the lot and then made them up, colour them in with pencils. Because obviously if you photocopy it, then the ink is not waterproof. So I think that's what I have here. Some of the ones that are pre-stamped. But as you can see, I'm being quite gentle about it, and the grey or black ink hasn't run. So that's a good thing. I'm just kind of pulling it up from the base. As long as you don't over wet it, I think you're okay. And I do not mind if my leaves look like that, because that is the way they are. I'm not too precious about colouring. I've got all the pro markers and all the rest of it. But, and I used to DT for the pro markers a long time ago. But I now prefer to use watercolour for everything because it's quick. Okay, so we've coloured them, Let's get in and colour the happy birthday. Just the wordage, not the back plates. I want everything to match, so everything is going with the same colour. Okay, now you can be as neat as you want. I find if I'm heavy-handed with this and rub at them, that's why I'm kind of doing a stabby motion. If I rub at it, I end up breaking the words, you see. Possibly should have coloured it before I cut them out, but I did want you to see me doing some of it. So the happy and the birthday, and I'm also going to colour the 1 and the 8. Okay, so that everything is perfectly matched. This is a bit more robust, so I can go round this and colour it. There we are. And this is exactly how I would do it. May as well colour the TH while I'm at it. If I were, you know, if I'm sitting here at home making it myself. Cut everything out first, then pop it all together. 18th, happy birthday, and the flowers. Again, I'm just going to colour the middles. I'm not going to colour the outside, as you can see. Just the middles. These little round brushes are great for that. These are from Altenew. They're really good for the... I haven't got any little tiny, you know, the brushes that everybody uses. I don't have the 2cm ones. Maybe I should invest, but these are okay. There we go. Just a little splash in the middle. There we are. Now I can glue all them together and then start on the back part of it. So, oops, got the glue stuck on my finger. Right, so let's just pop some of this down. Don't know where my basting brush is. I'll get up and find it. So, happy. There we are. Happy birthday. Oh, to be 18 again, eh? Wouldn't that be marvellous? Would you do the same things all over again, girls? Or would you change it completely? If you knew what you know now. So, happy birthday. And let's put the one up. These are great, these numbers. Absolutely love these numbers. Personalise everything. It's just superb. Everybody likes their numbers on a card unless you get to anything over 50, in which case, no. There we are. 18. So, and the TH can go on here. I do want to do something a little different for the backing than I normally do. You know me, I usually splash a bit of ink on and leave it at that. So let's pop all in there so I don't lose them. And the flowers, let's have them there. I think we'll do this bit. We'll do the backing part because I need that to dry. Okay, so I've got a DL card and I've cut a piece of card. So it's a little bit of a border around it. So what I'm going to do is bring in my scoreboard. Push them out of the way. And I'm going to score this, I think, every inch, okay? So I've got a dirty mark on this part, so I'll do it here. So every inch, I'm going to score it across. So you've got the long side at the top, and I'm scoring it every inch. So this measures 8 by 3 3/4, okay? So where those score lines are, I'm just going to fold them. I want them to be seen, and you will see them. You know, I'm not going to burnish them with anything other than my fingers. I just want them to stick up, okay? Now, this background is something that I use quite a lot for men's cards as well. So, right, there we are. I'm just going to bring me mat in. And they're going across the way. You could easily do them down the way if you want. So, I have Lost Shadow, which is a grey distress ink, but looks very, very pinky. Sometimes you get a bit of pink on it. So all I'm going to do is just drag it from the top to the bottom and put a bit of ink on. I'm keeping it flat. I'm not doing it like that because I don't want a line. I'm just keeping it flat and dragging it down. Okay? There. And you kind of get like a wood effect. Okay? Now, usual piece of paper or a piece of card, not card, tissue, and just dab that off because I don't want any of that grey to dry on my next ink pad, which is my pink one, the one that I've used for all of that. Now, I don't want too much pink. I like the way that grey looks, but I just want a little bit here and there. So I'm going to go in lighter with this, and I'm only going to go across and fill in the bits that I don't have anything on. Okay, that's enough for me. I just wanted to have pink, I wanted to have grey, and I also want you to be able to see them score lines in between, which have been picked up by the pink and the grey. So, you know, that's looking quite nice now as a background. Now, if you imagine this in the male colours, you know, for men's cards, if you haven't got any backing paper, this is always a really nice one to do. And it's easy, as you've just seen. So I'm gonna glue that now onto there. You can foam tape it if you want, but I'm gonna glue it for speed. And I've got some dimension on the flowers and everything to go in, so I'll keep this bit flat. Okay. Yeah, it also depends, Yvonne, on your ink pads, if they're really juicy. Now, the pink one was, but you have to keep them flat. You know, if this is the paper, if my hand is the paper, keep them totally flat. Don't go in like that. And don't press too heavy, because you can also put more on. Taking it off is a bit more difficult once you've done it too heavy-handed, you know. But just be gentle with it. And as I said, it's quite a nice one to do. I like the way that looks, and it didn't take too much. Let's see what she said. Jill said, you'd certainly choose the same guy to spend your life with, but hopefully get longer. Oh, no. How awful. Oh, he was a keeper, eh? Taking you to craft shows. My man doesn't. This is my man is here now. He's home. He's been away for a while, working, and he's home. But he's quite happy for me to do whatever I want to do with crafting. He's not one of those. He wouldn't go to a craft show, but he's quite happy to let me do my own thing. So, next thing I'm going to put on is this out of this frame. Again, just a little bit more dimension. This I think I did in, this is using thin strips of foam, which I have now all used up. These were Studio Light ones and they came from Hazel. And they're really handy for when you're doing shaker cards, you know. So again, like with this card, just make sure that you're not putting anything over the actual outside edge of the card, because it won't go in a DL envelope if you do that. All right. Now, I'll just leave that to dry and I'll do these foam flowers and show you how I put them together. So I've got 2 bunches of stamens. So the first thing I'm going to do is 1 bunch, and I've got one of a little, it's a thin wire. I think it came off another flower. I never throw them away, I keep them. I find the middle of the stamens, okay, and I put the wire in there and I twist it round. Now this is going to help you to get this through the foam, okay. So I'll do 2 bunches of those because I want 2 flowers. I like a lot of stamens in the middle of my flowers. Just kind of equal them out a bit. Fold them in half using the wire so that they're equal, and then just twist the wire so that they're twisted round. You are going to take this wire off at the end. It's just to help you. My fingers are not great. There we go. There we are. It's just going to help you get them in and through the middle, instead of trying to poke them all in separately. Okay, so with these flowers, you can use an iron and you just pop it onto the iron, use a ball tool, it'll curl and it'll fall off. Okay, but I kind of like mine bunched up, and then I twist them. Okay, twist them and roll them in your fingers, as you can see, and then just leave them while you do all the others. There. These look really pretty if you make a few of them and stick them on headbands for kids, or put a bobble on the back of them. They're quite pretty for the kids. Okay, so once you've scrunched them up, open them out a little bit. You can use your ball tool as well, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I just want a bit of scruffy looking on them. Roll them back and forwards in your fingers. If you're making a lot of these and you're putting a lot of ink on, you do get a lot of ink on your fingers, but it comes off. It's only distress ink after all. So there we go. You can roll it, if you haven't got good fingers, you can roll it on your palm as well. That helps, just to give it a little bit, you know. And you can even sort of pleat them and roll each one separately. I mean, you get a different look again. When you make these, you never get 2 looking the same, which is, you know, kind of cool. I sit sometimes and make a lot of them overnight in my favourite colours, so I know that I'm going to use them on cards or gifts, you know. Right, so they're looking like that. So if I get the ball tools out, and I have got some foam, you've got to be a bit careful, especially if you've got nails, because, you know, you can put your finger through them really easily. So you can either just spread them with your fingers, which is what I tend to do, or you can use your ball tool and curl them over. It's pretty good stuff. It moves where you want it to. Okay, so once you've done all them, I don't mind mine just looking like that, tassy. So what I tend to do now is put 3 of them together, so you've got quite full. Leave the scruffiest ones in the middle. Offset the petals. So we'll have 3 there and 3 on here. On your foam. And then you get yourself a pokey tool. There we are. Right, where's that gone? Here it is. And you poke a hole right through the middle of your flower, okay? Now, I haven't glued them yet, as you can see, because if you hot glue them together, and I'll show you what you can do with that if that happens. If you hot glue them at this point now, then you are never going to be able to get these stamens through the glue. Okay, so there we go. And then you gently pull them through as far down as you want them, she says. It's going to be one of them days. Yeah, pull it further in so that the stamens are just in the middle. Looks kind of messed up, doesn't it? There you go. And then what I'd like to do is put a little bit of glue just around there and then move on to the next one. Now, that I was a bit vigorous with and I pulled it off. No problem. A little bit of hot glue. Not too much because you don't want to see it. Have a look where it's not very full and just add it to the back. There we are. Nobody would know. There we go. One done. Same with this one now. Poke it through. Find it. Make sure they are kind of lined up in the middle, and then the hole is going to go where you want it to go. Right through 3 of them. And then again, with your wire, put the wires through. This is the most fiddliest part. Yeah, wires are through. Gently pull them through. Depends on how big the hole is and how many stamens you've got, really. But they will go through eventually if you just give it a gentle tug. There we are. That's it. They're down where I want them. A bit of glue on the back. Okay. I'll just kind of do it. A little bit of glue around there. And that will dry while we are ready putting this thing together. Move them out of the way. Don't need them now. Right. Okay. So, as with everything that I do, I start with the leaves. Alright? Start with the leaves. So I want them there. I'm going to put 2 lots of leaves on, I think. Now, I'm not fond of that one because clearly that one ran. So I'm just going to pull that one off. Okay? That's coming off. So these can go on flat now. But I don't glue right to the tips. I only glue the bottom and the stem. And then I can bend them up once I've got the final thing like this. I can bend them where I want them. Right. Oh, that's good. I will only probably keep you an hour, which is great. So that one can go down there. That shall pop. I don't need that, so trim it off. That one can fill in there. I'll trim that off too. Don't need that to stick out too far, and that one can go there. There we are. Okay, now flowers, they should be dry. So get yourself a decent pair of scissors and we're going to cut through them stamens, but leave a little bit on because obviously we need it to glue down. So don't go trimming off too short or the whole thing will fall apart. There we are. So I'm going to start with these 2 around about there, but I also want to put this on. So let's see. Trim that a bit shorter. Now all this is just a rectangle, and I've cut up the middle and then down to the 2 sides to form a banner. Okay, so I'm going to pop the banner on. Still needs to be a bit shorter. There we are. That should do it fine. So I'm going to put some glue along there and some glue along there and just attach it there on either side. Okay, now I'm going to sit them 2 there and the rest of the flowers are going to work their way out. So because it's foam, I want this to stick really well, so it's going to have to be hot glue. Okay, so 1 there. Now they will splay out with the warm glue, so you have to put them on and push them where you want them to go, like that. Okay, I want them to overlap and sit like that. There we are. Now I would imagine you're probably going to have to make a box for this because of these. If you don't want to put them on, fine, use any of the other flowers and I have them on with a little bit of foam pad. So I've got 2 of the larger ones which are going to sit either side. Now I always work out woods, medium, you know, large, medium, smaller, okay. So, and then I'll tuck that one behind there. So I think I'll glue them on with hot glue. Alright, well that one's caught with the glue already, so that's handy. Pop a bit of glue under that. Push it down a bit so it's just poking out, and then this one can poke out there. So this one was caught with the hot glue anyway, so I'll just pop a little bit more under there to make sure it's okay. And then this, I've got me glue pot just ahead of me here, so I'm using hot glue to put them on. It'd be easier to show you than trying to hold them dry. There we are. There we go. This one can lift and pop that under, so you've got a nice display of flowers down there. And now with the happy birthday, I'm going to pop that on here. There, happy. Make sure it's kind of straight. Birthday. And then you can pop the 18 wherever you like. I kind of like to sort of put them there, I think. I've got some dimensional tape on the back. These are great, these little tiny round ones. Stampin' Up ones, I think. God, I've had them a while. Found them the other day when I was tidying up. So, one can go on there. 18 can go there. And then we've got the TH. And then the only other thing to do, and I have absolutely no glossies in pink. I've used them all. So 18th there. So what I will do is grab out some of these cute little things. You can use, what are they called? Sequins, that's the word. You can use some of them. But these are really pretty, and they're just gems, really. But they're kind of really dimensional. So I'll put 5 blobs on, pop them on. Glue, and I will leave these to dry overnight, and I'll take the photographs tomorrow and pop them on so you can all see what it ended up like. There we are. It'll take a little while for them to dry. So, yeah, quite like that one in pink. Here we go. So let's move everything out of the way. Leave the 2 cards here for you to see. There we go. Ooh, another one snipped on there. There we are. So I hope you enjoyed that. We have got 2 dimensional cards. That will flatten down and go in an envelope. But I would say make a box, or even one of those envelopes with the, you know, the deeper sides in it. So yeah, 2 cards, 1 hour, not bad. So I hope you have a go at making them, and vary the colours, vary the ages and the sentiments, and I think they'll be versatile for any occasion. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I shall see you soon. Have a good evening. Bye.